Business is about how a business is run. So imagine if this was a business. Inside the business we have machines. On those machines we have people working. Raw material goes in, out comes a finished product. Let's say a phone, okay? So business focuses on how do we lay out this factory in such a way that we're making the maximum number of phones, which is called operations. How do we motivate these people working inside the factory so that they are working at the best of their ability, which is called HR, human resource. Sometimes they call it human resource management. Once the product is made, how do we get this product out to the customers? It's called distribution. How do we distribute this product? Are we selling this product directly to our customer? So are we selling it online, or are we selling it to a wholesaler who is then selling it to a retailer who is then selling it to a customer? So how are we distributing the product, whether it's through our own website direct, or our own shops direct, or whether we're going through wholesaler, retailer, and then they're getting to the end customer. And then here comes your suppliers. How are we managing this is called supply chain. Where are we getting the products from? Are we getting them at the right price? So supply chain management. And then you've got competitors. So who else is in your industry? Who else is making products similar to yours? Can we make it better than the product? Can we improve our pricing so it's a better price than the competitors? And many other things. So that would be things like marketing, advertising. Where are we advertising the product? On radio, on TV, in magazines, on social media, on YouTube. And business would cover some elements, not all elements, but some elements of. So it will have a module called economics. And this is where they'll cover high level of how the economy functions and what role businesses play, what role the government plays, as well as international trade. So trading with other countries. I'll give you an example. When you sell this product to another country, so let's say we're in the UK and we're selling this product to, who shall we pick? Let's say China. When this product goes to China, Chinese government may decide to put extra taxes on. Now, why would they do that? It's to protect their own firms, because China would also have lots of businesses in their economy. They probably are also producing the same product as you. Now, if customers start buying your products, then the money goes out to your country. So these businesses lose out. So to protect their own domestic businesses, their own homegrown businesses, the government may say, well, if people want to buy products that are foreign products in China, then we'll put extra taxes on. And obviously, if a product costs £100 and they put extra tax on of, let's say, another £100, then you'll be put off from buying this foreign product. Instead, you may choose to buy your homegrown local product. So that will support local businesses, which means more people would be employed in China making these products. But that's just high level economics. Whereas when you're doing economics, it will cover, there are two elements of economics. So there's microeconomics and then there's macro. Micro is what we just talked about, but it's not the same level of detail. So your microeconomics will not go into detail on how to market your product, how to manage people. No, it will talk about very basic level of how are we managing our cost inside the factory. It'll talk about profit and loss, balance sheet, assets, but at very, very high level, whereas business would go into detail. So let me just label it, we don't get confused. This is business. And now let's talk about economics. Economics will talk about, we have businesses in the economy, and then we have people like you and me, households. What are our roles in an economy? So we go and work in these factories. So we provide labor. When we work in the factories, they give us money, so we get wages. What do we do with the wages? We give it back to them because we're buying products from them, so they give us products in return. Now, that's just a very, very basic model of the economy. And then we have the role of government. So where does the government come in? How does government control the economy or not control the economy? Which basically means, does the government let businesses do whatever they want, i.e. they can produce as many products as they want, or they can pollute the environment as much as they want, or does the government control them? And the answer is government does exercise some sort of control. An example I'll give you is they would have laws and regulations to protect people like you and me. So they would have, let's say, employment laws which dictate that you cannot make people work in poor conditions. So you have to have decent health and safety. They should only work a certain number of hours. They should be paid minimum wage. Minimum wage is a facility only available to some countries, such as the UK. It doesn't apply to the rest of the world, but that's an example. So one element they'll cover is laws. The other would be things like you can only pollute the environment so much, you must keep rivers clean, the air clean, etc., etc. And then there's the element of, so that's our economy. How does our economy, so let me draw this economy in, so imagine that was the economy. Let me quickly draw that picture again. Us, people, whoops. So let's say this is one country, okay? How does one economy deal with other economies in the world? Okay, so that's other countries. How do we trade with them? So that's our country. How do we trade with them? What are we selling to them? What are we exporting? And what are we buying from them? That's coming into our country, which is importing. So imports, exports. Obviously, you want to be selling lots of things to other countries and importing less, because that way you'd make more money. Doesn't always happen. So then the government would play some sort of a role in managing the balance of imports and exports, as well as putting taxes on, which we talked about, amongst many other things. And the most important element would be controlling things like inflation. So inflation is the price of goods and services. So for example, bread used to be 50 pence 20 years ago. Bread is now £1. Things have gone up in price over the years, like things do. That's inflation. But the role of the government is to make sure inflation is not too high. So if bread is £1 tomorrow, it shouldn't be £5 tomorrow. Sorry, if the bread is £1 today, it shouldn't be £5 tomorrow. So they want to control the price of goods going up. They also want to make sure people like you and me are employed, so they control employment. And the government would often create incentives for people, for businesses to take on people, or for people to start their own businesses. They would also want to grow the economy, so it's GDP, gross domestic product, which is basically how we measure how well an economy is doing. So they would want the GDP to be growing up, employment going up, inflation to be coming down. So the point is they'll cover high level of how all of this works. And the real difference is, if you were to do business, you would know how to start your own business. But if you studied economics, you're not going to know how to start a business. You will know high level of how a business may operate, but you're not going to know the insights to start your own business. But economics is good in the sense that it gives you a wider picture of how the world functions. Business gives you a picture of how businesses work, and it gives you a really, really detailed view of how businesses operate, and some elements of the economy, but not all elements of it. What else shall I cover? Business is very much essay writing, and there are lots of discussions, there are lots of presentations, whereas economics is lots of modeling, and involves a lot of maths. Business doesn't have as much maths. It does have some elements of maths. You've got accounting, but not as much as economics modeling would have. So at college level, business and economics both are very, very basic. They'll cover high level stuff, whereas when you go to uni, it goes into super fine detail. So business would go into extreme details of how to advertise, where to advertise, how to put an ad out, what to write in the ad, even to the point of what color should the ad be, what color should your font be, how to motivate people. Whereas economics would go into economics modeling, whereby they will say, let's assume that the economy is doing well and inflation's at this percent and employment's at this rate, how much would the GDP grow by? But economics sometimes gets frustrating because they will talk about models that used to work once upon a time but no longer work, but they'll expect you to understand them. So whilst it's frustrating, it's very good at maximizing or stretching your brain, because you understand how to work with assumptions, which is what a lot of jobs require when you're modeling things. So assumption based on an assumption based on an assumption. Whereas business is more realistic, and it's also easier to digest because we grow up with businesses, right? So you've seen ads on TV, you've seen ads on billboards, so you understand marketing module very easily. For example, you've been into a shop and you've seen how a good customer service looks like, how a bad customer service looks like, so you understand how we can motivate people so that they're producing at the best and happy employees basically. Whereas economics, you don't really deal with day to day, so it can be harder to grasp. But overall, if you want to start your own business, then business is it. Whereas if you want to go into as analytical kind of jobs, then economics would be better placed. Employers would prefer that because it's got lots of analysis. But economics doesn't have as many presentations. In fact, economics hardly has any presentations. So no public speaking, whereas you would need public speaking here. At first, obviously presentations are scary, but they'll make you more confident over time.